So today we're going to work backwards when we have the graph or the information and we create the equation. Whereas yesterday we had the equation and graphed it, and you did very well. So the first one is, what is the equation of a sine function with amplitude 2 and a vertical shift of 3 down? So the first thing that I see is that I know my parent function is sine. So I can write y equals, leave a little space because we don't know what transformations yet. So it talks about an amplitude of 2 and a vertical shift of 3 down. So the first thing that I see, an amplitude of 2, means that I have vertically stretched this thing by a factor of 2. So my A value is 2. It doesn't say anything about a reflection, so we're going to leave it as positive 2. It also says that it has a vertical shift of 3 down. That is not inside the function, inside the brackets. It's outside at the end. We need an x though. Whoops. So y equals 2 sine x, and then 3 down would be negative 3. Our second one. What is the equation of a sine function with an amplitude of 0.5, a horizontal shift of 45 to the right, and an axis of symmetry of y equals 2? So again, our parent function is sine. We have an amplitude of 0.5. We have a horizontal shift of 45 to the right, and an axis of symmetry of y equals 2. So the amplitude is that A value again. This one is a vertical compression of a half. So our A value is 0.5. The second thing that I see is a horizontal shift. If we have horizontal, that is inside the function. And this one is 45 to the right. So it is x subtract 45. Counterintuitive. So then the last thing that it says is an axis of symmetry of y equals 2. That means the entire function has been moved up 2 so that that midline is at 2 instead of at 0. So that is a vertical translation of 2 up. These ones are not as easy to see, but we have a graph that starts at the midline and ends at the midline. So this one would be easiest to write as a sine curve. I'm going to look at my amplitude now to see what the maximum and the minimum are. They're both to 3 and to negative 3, so my amplitude is 3. It goes up first, so that is not a reflection. It goes in the normal pattern, so it is positive 3. I notice that this thing has not been moved left or right. It does start exactly in the middle, so I don't need a horizontal translation. The last thing that I'm checking is, has this been moved up or down? It has not, because that middle line is at 0. I am finished. My second function starts in the middle, goes up, middle, down, middle. It would best be represented with sine. I look at my amplitude and it goes up to 0.5 and down to negative 0.5. So my amplitude is 0.5. Since it goes up first and then down, it is a sine in the normal pattern, max first, then min, so it's positive 0.5. It has not been shifted left or right. It starts at 0, ends at 360, no horizontal translation. And the axis is still at 0. I am finished. This one starts in the middle, ends at the middle. It would best also be written as sine. The amplitude for this one is maybe a little less easy to see, but it is a distance of 1 up and a distance of 1 down. So its amplitude is 1. It goes upwards first and then down to a maximum first and then to a minimum, so it is positive 1. It has not been shifted to the left or to the right. It starts exactly in the middle of the function, so I don't have a horizontal translation either. But this thing has been moved up. It's not at 0 as it normally is, but its axis is at 2. So the entire thing has been shifted up 2. Last one. I have a function that's middle is at 0 because I see that the minimum is at -1 and the maximum is at 1. So this one still has an amplitude of 1. You have a choice whether you want to make this a cos function or a sine function. Either way, it has been moved a little bit left or a little bit right because it's not starting at either the max, the min, or in the middle exactly. I'm choosing to make this one a cos function. So a cos function starts at the maximum value. So mine as a cos function has been moved over to the right 120 degrees. So my amplitude is 1 from middle up and down. I've started here as a cos function. I'm just going to check that the middle is at 0 and it hasn't been shifted up or down. No, it hasn't. So that is done. If someone else said, I don't like using cos, I like using sine. So the amplitude would still be 1. But if you decided it was a sine function, it has been moved over 30 because sine starts in the middle. Middle, up, middle, down, middle. This is a sine function moved to the right 30. And both of those answers would be perfectly correct.